Good morning once again, everybody. And shocker, more bad numbers. All right. So we're just going to cover this and then go off into, I'm sure, a very long winded tangent about economics. All right. So, January 2026, we've posted the worst numbers since 2009. 100,000 plus layoffs, and hiring has fallen off a cliff. If you didn't see this coming, if you didn't expect it, I don't know what the hell you're listening to because honestly, the only thing that's propping up GDP numbers is the top 1% spending 10%, I think. Give me just 1 second to verify that. Uh, GDP. Oh, God, how the hell do I word this? Primary contributors of US GDP. Oh, okay. And is going to give me what I'm looking for. No, wow, AI is fantastic. Okay. Well, because I forgot the numbers, we'll pretend that I didn't say that. And then I'm going to reiterate it. Like the top 1 to 10% are responsible for like 90% of the GDP at this point. The only people who are honestly doing exceptionally well are the wealthy. Everybody else is in a varying level of economic malaise. All right. It's nothing's really changing. People are trying to hold on to their jobs more because everything's uncertain. All right. Anybody who's going out there trying to lock down a new job is pulling their fucking hair out. All right. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way to say it because you've got tons of people who are throwing in hundreds, if not thousands, of applications, and the situation has gotten so bad that now there's apps being, coming onto the market where essentially you just feed all the info to the AI to a form and you just like Tinder, all right, or any of the dating apps, you swipe left or swipe right. And if you swipe right, the AI will auto input all of your data into a job form, all right, into a job application on whichever site it found the listing from. Good God. Good God. The level of retardium is over 9,000. All right. This is how broken the labor market is. All right. Hiring's fallen off a cliff. Everybody's using AI to read resumes or read the data, and they're also using it to input the data now. Companies, for the most part, are really just spending the majority of their time fronting success. All right. They keep the listings up. They get thousands upon thousands of people applying to them, and then they just don't hire anybody. All right. And they do have the wondrous cover of, well, we were going to hire for this position, but the economic circumstances changed, so fuck you. All right. That's pretty much how it goes. All right. The overall situation is for normal people, essentially, it's lock in. All right. It's lock in, lock and load, get ready for whatever's coming. All right. Because anybody who has any kind of honest to God attachment to the economy, you know that things are sinking. You know that there is multiple struggles going on. You know that people are working their asses off for wages that aren't keeping up with inflation. Consumer spending has collapsed to the point that I think it was Frito Lay is actually dropping prices for the chips now. And it's just like, oh, huh, that's interesting. So the cost of junk food is going to go down because people are so broke, they're buying less. And it's like, yep, yep. People are already cash strapped. People are already in questionable positions. You've got more and more questionable shit going on. All right. I know I was hearing stories about Reddit posts where, of course, I'm young and I need the money, of girls trying to roll back to the world's oldest profession in order to make the rent payments. And it's just like, yep, yep. That's how you know the economy's doing great, when the girls are literally themselves to try to make ends meet. All right. Things are not good. Things are absolutely not good. I don't care what Orange Man has to say about it. I don't know what numbers he's fucking reading, but I know for a fact that what we have now and what I expect over the next 10 years is not exactly the industrial renaissance that the United States needs in order to maintain any kind of position on the world stage. All right. Honestly, the idea of the Don Roe doctrine, where we hold the Western Hemisphere, it's just like, honestly, that might be a bit of a stretch too. All right. Because we're having shortages everywhere. All right. And when it comes to war materials, of course, we're low on Javelin missiles, all sorts of the fun and very useful military hardware, because it all got dumped in Ukraine. And 155 artillery shells, boom, also dumped in Ukraine. All right, the last reserve, the last solid reserve of 155 was held by the South Koreans, who obviously have a nascent interest in holding on to their supplies during the Biden years. All right. The idea of trying to wear down the Russians over time, it's like, okay, it's a reasonable idea if you want to get the Western Europeans to go ahead, Western and Central Europeans to finally, form some kind of European military and steamroll Russia so they can get the collateral that they need for their financial system and get us back to access to cheap and easy resources again. All right. But the goal of trying to wear down the Russians is not exactly working out too well, because they've got their war factories cranking out nonstop. Meanwhile, we've built all of the modern militaries on high end hardware. Where the hell do all the materials come for this high end hardware? Oh, the other country we pissed off. Cool. Where the hell are we going to get the rare earths? All right, the amount of silver wiring, I mean, it's a closely guarded secret for the most part how much silver the US military actually requires, because they use silver wiring just because, in terms of conductance, you can transmit through silver faster than you can copper. All right, so for high precision systems, you need a lot of it. Regardless, we have no idea exactly how much silver the U.S. military needs, but we do know one thing. None of the materials manufacturers, none of the miners, nobody can honestly put out enough throughput to actually put us back in the green substantially in terms of any of these advanced weapon systems. Which also explains why the shift was happening to Abrams tanks, where I was hearing something about they're going to be using race car seats with the embroidery because it's cheaper. Yep, yep. That was Bear Independent, by the way. You should definitely pay attention to that channel. All right, so long as it's on YouTube, because he does drop very important things like that. But essentially, the one story was talking about essentially building Abrams tanks out of off the shelf parts. And it's just like, okay, so what that signals to me right off the bat is if we have to use random junk off the shelf for the Abrams tanks, that also means that we're also going to have to use junk off the shelf for everything else. It means our access to resources, components, everything is falling over the cliff. All right. It means that long term stability is not just not guaranteed, it's over. It's done. All right. Coming back to the economy. The layoffs massive. Amazon, of course, cutting more people. UPS is, I think it was UPS, could have been FedEx, but I think it was UPS. Also fired like 40,000 people recently, mostly because of Amazon. But then Amazon is also going to try to ditch the post office so they can just do essentially what everybody else is doing now, where you hire freelancers to drive around and run packages for you. And it's just like, okay, okay. So the entire system is going to be built, like it's going to be less and less centralized and more prone to individual failure. Fantastic. Honestly, I don't like this. The thing, they wouldn't do it if they couldn't save money doing it. But the consequence of them saving money doing it is the decline of hard logistics systems. All right. You lose more and more hard logistics systems. Like eventually, we're going to get to the point where instead of semi trailers rolling up and unloading food for a local supermarket, it's going to be Uncle Dave showing up in his Miata with an entire trunk full of bread. All right. Like that's the level of where it seems they want to take this shit. And it's just not going to work. It's just not stable. All right. The whole logistics system, that's terrible too. Especially when it goes badly, because if they fuck up the programming for just-in-time logistics systems, you end up with stores buying up tons of one item or the other, and even though it doesn't sell, it just keeps coming in. I was on the receiving end of that once in one of the jobs I worked in the past, where for whatever reason we just kept getting pallet after pallet after pallet after pallet of this one item code. And originally it was written off as, oh, they're just cleaning out the warehouse because they were about to undergo a massive change in their logistics. And then it turned out that, oh, somebody fucked up. All right. Either a bit of memory went a little over and flipped. I'm not exactly sure what exactly happened there, but they ended up draining way too much supply of that item, and it eventually led to, and this is after I had left that place, but they held on to that inventory for at least 2 years until they had to start sending it back so they can redistribute to other locations. And it's just like, yep, yep. Over reliance on technology, not exactly good. But just in time logistics, the idea is fantastic when it comes to keeping things moving and reducing operating costs. But in terms of stability, every gain in efficiency comes at the cost of less durable systems over time. All right. The fact that, if anything major happened in New York, all right, and deliveries got held back for whatever reason, maybe a bridge collapses, it could be anything, or rioting, anything in particular, any major shift will lead to deliveries not being made, leads to supermarkets running dry, leads to starvation and collapse in a week. All right. In a week, things go from stable to shit's going off the deep end. All right. Every gain in efficiency. It's like, okay, we have less warehouses full of shit just lying around, but you have less warehouses full of resources just lying around. If anything major or significant happens, everything goes tits up. All right. And yeah, they can save a fortune. There's a bunch of jobs that they don't have to have. There's a bunch of holding costs for every single plot of that square footage. There's holding costs that get eliminated. There's machines you don't need anymore. There's drivers you don't need anymore. But if, I don't know, somebody decides to draw a GPS dick before conveniently grounding their ship in the Suez, all right, or in the Panama in the future, in the Panama Canal, if anybody decides to just conveniently ground their ship, next thing you know, global shipping's disrupted. They have to go the long way around, adds a whole lot of time. Things happen. Things happen. And at some point, these corporations are going to have to realize that, yes, efficiency is great, and in terms of shareholder value, it's fantastic, but the cost of not having all these extra jobs and the cost of running these incredibly lean systems is low stability. All right? Anything increasingly as you get more and more efficient, any little thing can completely fuck up the operation. All right. And then on top of it, you also have to take into account all the layoffs. More and more people are asking this question. If you replace everybody with AI, who's going to buy your product? All right. We're getting closer and closer to the finding out phase with all of this. Who's going to buy your product? All right. We've started off the year with some interesting political and military things. But we're also, and it's also taken away from the fact that the economy is in such poor shape. But who's going to buy this shit when you have to start marking down potato chips to try to sell them? You have to ask the question, like, So you can argue. I mean, we don't know if layoffs are going to follow as a result of that. But just off the announcement as it is, so you were charging people extra money to get a bag of chips, and now people are so broke because you and every other corporation out there were literally scalping every way you could, and now you're in the situation where sales are tipping or falling off a cliff for some companies because you've extracted so much wealth from the economy, and whilst you were doing layoffs, whilst you were automating, that now people don't even look at your product anymore because they have to worry about showing their tits on the internet to make the rent payment. The economy's fucked. All right, like this. Views and opinions expressed do not represent that of Spades Consulting LLC and are strictly of my personal beliefs. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know what to tell you guys. The economy is absolutely fucked. There are some people who are doing fantastically. There are a lot of people who are sliding backwards. All right. And for the people who had dreams of success, dreams of living the high life, all I want is a little of the good life. All I need's to have a good time. All the people with those dreams are starting to shift back into survival mode again. And survival mode does not sell chips and ice cream. I mean, it can. But we're getting to financial situations in the United States and probably the wider West as a whole where even comfort food is being thrown out with the bathwater. All right. Because people just cannot afford to waste $5 on a bag of chips. Regardless of where you are in life, how you're positioned, whether you have stocks, bonds, whether you have an ounce of silver in a in a hole somewhere hidden, it doesn't particularly matter. Regardless of where you are in life, I mean, I realize that, it's a oh oh god, what's the term? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's continuation of the tailwind down, because if I go out there and say stop spending and more people stop spending, obviously the economy is going to get even worse. This is how it goes. You either have the growth, more hiring, more production, more hiring, more production, or you have more layoffs, less spending money, less production, less sales, less production, more layoffs. It's a corkscrew in one direction or the other. Regardless, it's a screw. Regardless of how you're positioned, do everything you can to harden your overall position in life. All right. Don't spend if you don't have to. Pay the bills and keep whatever else you possibly can. All right. Because you don't know where the stability ends. You don't know when your ass is on the chopping block for layoffs next. Okay. And companies, especially with all of the messaging, all of the fake jobs, all the bullshit, companies right now, all right, they could look perfectly fine and stable. They are one day away from absolutely imploding. Now, the one thing that you do have to your benefit is, and this is primarily big for manufacturing, warehouses, the real blue collar economy. A lot of states mandate things like WARN notices, just a nice way for companies to signal, yeah, we're going to start firing people next month or the end of this month. There's a specific time band, all right, in the states that have it. Keep an eye out for those, okay? Keep an eye out for those because they are going to tick up. And it gives you that heads up, because even if, a WARN notice goes out that a company is going to do layoffs, the company isn't necessarily going to tell its employees that they're about to do layoffs. A lot of cases, these companies just spring it on people. All right. It's up to you to stay informed of those situations. Prepare for instability. All right. And it goes beyond economic. Prepare for economic, obviously, political, obviously. Prepare for everything that you can imagine going off the rails, and then start to prepare for all of the things that you would naturally consider unimaginable, all right, to start going off the rails. This is the thing. We've had, over the course of 50 years, we've seen stable economic systems and foundations slowly rot into the just in time, and we'll just have people deliver shit in the trunks of their cars. All right, and we're not even going to have these complex logistics systems. We're not even going to worry about that. We're just going to start stuffing loaves of bread in Uncle Dave's trunk. All right, that is not stable. All right, because Uncle Dave's Miata, one, is small, and two, good God, if we honestly get to that point, I don't even know what the hell to say, because you can't feed an entire country based on what Uncle Dave can move in the trunk of his Miata. All right. And you also can't guarantee the Miata makes it where it's supposed to go, because these days parts quality is so low. Like it's for some of the parts, for some car models and truck models, you're talking a 50-50 fail rate. If it's not back ordered, you're looking at parts that you have to, sometimes go through 7 parts to find one that works. All right? It's especially bad if you have to special order a part and wait a couple days or a week or 2 for it to get there. All right, given that the long wait times are normally a thing of the past, but when you have to wait day after day after day after day trying to order a new part, order a new part, order a new part, trying to find one that fucking works like it's supposed to, fresh from the factory, that that screws up entire supply chains. All right. Things are not getting easier in terms of just raw economic capability for the West or any country. All right. For any country. And another perfect example, if you were, let's say you needed heavy equipment, okay? Now, let's say you wanted to go the cheapest route possible for that heavy equipment, and you start ordering and buying heavy equipment from Asia, avoiding the whole tariff talk. You go through all of that. The machinery that you're getting is slapped together so quickly and built so poorly that if you have hydraulic lines, they're not pressed right, they're blowing through, and you end up with messes everywhere. You end up with oil pans, assuming it's a combustion engine. You end up with oil pans where they're stripped out from the factory. All right, so they're just leaking everything everywhere. All right, you've got fans that are failing. You've got all sorts of fucking problems that, especially if you buy new equipment, all right, for anything, all right, fresh out of the box, it's just like, and it's broken, and it's broken. And for that, it's not even a 50-50. It's like 90% of the new equipment coming in has to get dealt with by mechanics, by whoever the hell would deal with whatever machine. You've got to call out companies to fix your brand new machines because they're DOA out of the box. All right. Oh, God. This is the thing. I don't necessarily want to be cursing all the time, but I prefer to be raw and real with things. All right. This is a fucking disaster. All right. The entire economic system now is just a fucking disaster. All right. Dumpster fire does not embody it. It's not a wide enough, big enough term to embody just how fucked up things are. All right. I got to tell it how it is. All right. I got to tell it how it is. I got to be honest with you people. Things are not looking great. Do the best you can to position yourselves as well as you can in preparation for whatever the hell could possibly come next. All right. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. This has been Michael from Spades Consulting. Stop by the site, www.spadesconsulting.com, without the dash if you're interested in personal or business advice. If you're interested in written content, stop by the Substack. It is linked below in the description box. It is also on the nav on the website. If you appreciate the video, like, favorite, sub, do all the TISM tasks, tickle the bell, ring the bell, do all the things to the bell, make it happen. Leave a comment. I will read it, I assure you. And with that, you guys have a good one.